まさか本当にやりやがった藤虎。
まるで仇を取ってくれたみたい。
同じ地位を得てもこんな真似俺にはできねえな。胸が空いたよ。
マフィンありますよ。コーヒー入れます？
腹じゃねえよバカ。
え？
How's it going, everybody? And man, do I have a treat for you today. We're playing some good old Smoker, OP09 Smoker, against good old Zoro here today. Apologies for the webcams or the cam setup. It's a little mucked up, but you can see pretty much everything you need to see. Characters on board. Just my Don's going to be hiding most of the game here, but we did end up, I think, winning the dice roll and deciding to go. I think we won the dice roll and decided to go second. I think either way, we were going to decide to go second here. We just, even if we win the dice roll against Zoro, I just really don't want to go first. I just don't have the best first curve, as I say here as I'm about to play Sengoku. But you know, the Smoker deck just plays way better on the just the even curve. So anyways, we're going to start off with the Sengoku. Going to pitch some cards out of our hand. Going to look for some more cards. End up picking up a 2K, a Borsalino, and a Jack here. Jack's actually going to become pretty instrumental into this matchup. Zoro often or not has, you know, 3-cost bodies galore, right? Especially if this is the chopper build, but suspecting from my opponent's playmat, this likely is the chopper build here, especially once they found a chopper off of the Dr. Crayon 1. Leading up into another searcher here. This means no Zoro this turn, which would have been like a double 5k aggression. Instead, just going to be setting up for potential future turns, grabbing another one of those choppers that puts another chopper into play. Now, that's not the essential, not the, you know, the superb chopper that we like to see, but that's another good chopper, a good play off of the 3-cost chopper, which is the one that looks at the top 5. Opponent's just going to go ahead and swing 6k into lead here. First one's always free in my book here, especially when we pick up a Brook off the top of life here. And opponent's going to go with Makino, and then now going to swing another 6k here. It's plus 3k to create out 1k off the leader effect, and we're just going to give him a 2k. Do not want to drop any lower than I have to at this point right now, but that Brook into hand is pretty freaking great here. I think we also might even have a Rebecca in hand here. Unfortunately, yeah, I can see Rebecca off the side of there. I'm not using the hand holder for this video, but we're gonna go ahead and start off with a Sengoku. One of the nice things about having Sengoku on 1 is it can swing into some of my opponent's characters, just like that Makino, being able to clear it up. Basically 2k checking my opponent there. Makino, if it stays on the board, it's just going to keep giving plus 3k to all these little 1-drops here. And that's going to get pretty annoying here. So Sengoku being able to clean that up is pretty great. I will be able to pretty much clear up my opponent's entire board here. I could just, likely, I'm just going to be playing the control match early. Kind of the goal with this matchup is just to stall Zoro out. So I just want to keep clearing his board, not really feeding him any life. So I am kind of starving Zoro. And just ensure that he just doesn't have anything to play on the next turn. So we're going to swing 5k into the 2k here, and then I think we're just going to go a Rebecca grab. The only eligible target in my yard here is a Kobe. We're going to grab the Kobe, and then we're going to put a Brook into play here. And Brook's going to come in, -1, and KO Nami. Brook, one of the most essential cards in the Zoro matchup, 100% for sure. I didn't have one before. My opponent gave me one out of life, so really great here. Great to see. We've got the Gecko in hand, got a 7-drop Jack in hand. I think we're in a pretty good spot right now to be able to take over the game. It just depends on what my opponent does on this next turn. If they do manage to find the chopper, which they are going to go ahead and swing 7k into Brook here, I'm just going to go ahead and block that with Rebecca here. Want to save my Brook as much as possible. If they did have a Zoro there, they could have swung a Zoro with 6k into Brook, which would have been annoying, but I likely could have countered that as well. I might have another 2k in hand. Opponent's going to play out the good Searcher Chopper. It's going to put a 3k power into play, and then every time that a chopper attacks, it's going to look at the top 5 and grab another animal card. So that's just going to slowly fill up the board here. And I have a bit of a play here. We are on our 6th Dawn turn, which those who play against Smoker know that is the essential Tashigi turn. Tashiki's going to be able to come in here and just clear up that chopper, and then I could just go ahead and continue to stay as controlling as possible. Yes, I do have enough here to attach one to lead and give myself a 7k, and I could likely swing 7k into the tapped 3k body here. Again, not going to pressure my opponent's life right now. Going to keep starving him on resources, keep over-attacking on some of his characters so he can't defend them. So yeah, we're going to -4, and then we're going to use Smoker's ability to -1 on that, seize another 0, swing 7k, going to clear that, and then we're going to use Tashiki's effect to trash the other one. And we're just going to pass back to my opponent here No reason for me to do anything else right now. Keeping that Brook active is going to be pretty great, just because Zoro's going to have a lot of rush plays here. Zoro going into his 7 Dawn turn, and things are looking pretty good for me. Got a few bricks in hand, but other than that, mostly just a bunch of 1Ks, a few 2Ks. I can always check my opponent if he decides to go for a 6K swing, but instead goes for the 5K. And it's going to play a good old Beckman. Nice little tech of some of the Zoro decks, allowing them to kind of deal with these mid-range threats here and have a big old body, a 7K body, which is pretty big here. And then we whip one of the Chef's Kiss best cards in our deck, and that's Ice Age. Ice Age is the king of being able to just take things out here, and oh my gosh, Ice Age is so good in this moment. If I wanted to continue this effort of just clearing my opponent's board, we're going to go ahead and try to feed my opponent here. We're going to go ahead and swing here. Opponent's just going to give me a 1K that he searched earlier in the game out of hand here. And now we're kind of feeling like this might be a Jack turn here. So we're going to play Jack out, and then we're going to use that 1 Dawn, and we're going to Ice Age the Beckman here. And then we're going to go ahead and activate Jack. Go ahead and cycle into a 2K, because discard a Borsalino, which is a potential pickup off of the Gecko Moria. And we're going to just pass back to my opponent here. So Jack's going to be doing a good job of clearing my opponent's smaller threats, while also cycling my hand, right? I don't have too many bricks in the deck. I do run a few Hinas, and then the Gecko Morios, the Jacks. I think I also run a Kaido in this deck as well, for like the Blackbeard matchup. But opponent's going to just go ahead and start with the Korea, find another Tony Chopper. That's just, you know, it is what it is. It's a little annoying. Now that I have a Jack on the field, I can pretty easily clean that up just by activating Jack's ability. So not nearly as afraid of Chopper flooding the board here. Chopper's going to go find one of his best targets, and that is himself. In the taunt version, or not taunt, why did I say taunt? The blocker version. I say taunt because it beckons me to attack it here, but the blocker Chopper here, that Chopper is not going to be standing up. I'm definitely going to be swinging into it here. And opponent's going for a really big attack here. I think this is all going into Jack, and I'm just going to counter that. There's a 10K swing into Jack. I'm going to give him a 2K, 1K, because Jack is my ace in the hole right now. I need Jack to live. Because I just will be able to continuously clean up my opponent. Smoker notoriously not very good at clearing more than one body a turn, but with the addition of Brook and Jack in the deck, it gets a whole lot easier. We've got a Gecko in hand. We're still at 4 life, and we've got a Suru in hand. I think we're just going to go for a value Gecko here. Likely just going to grab back the Rebecca and the brand new. Yes, there's a Borsalino in the yard, but the Rebecca is just so much value, especially with me having a 2K that I can get out of yard. We're going to start with the Brook. Brook, very sad, going to make me discard a good old Gecko Moria. But we're going to pick up a Tashigi, another great hit in the deck. Discard some non-counter. And then use Rebecca. Rebecca's likely going to pick up this 2K counter here. But now that I have the Hina, this makes things a little more interesting. So I can actually grab Hina, reduce one of the choppers, and then use Jack to kill the other choppers. So we're actually going to do that instead of grabbing the 2K here. So Brandoing first, giving me some new options here. And that's why if you're playing Gecko Moria, you always want to brand new before you Rebecca here, because brand new can put a few additional things in the yard. And if we're going to use Jack, we're going to KO. So we basically Hina'd on one. We jacked the other, right? So we jacked the 3 cost, Hina'd the 0 cost. We're going to use one of our extra Dawn here out of our 2 additional Dawn this turn. And we're just going to swing 5K. And we're actually, what we're going to do is we're going to swing 5K, KO the chopper, and -1 on the Kureha. Now that I can, which allows my leader to get +1K. It's a whole strategic turn, and that's one of the fun things about Smoker, right? Smoker lets you make a lot of really interesting plays. You just kind of have to think about it, and you definitely got to think and math out your numbers here to allow you to do some really silly things. But now I've left my opponent with just a Korea on board. They're going to go ahead and tap 8 and play a Dragon. Dragon, pretty notable, including the Zoro deck, so I definitely expected at this point. But notably, we did hit something off the Jack, and that was an Ice Age. So Ice Age is going to let me clean up. Well, actually, I think I threw the Ice Age away. And now that I'm looking at my hand, maybe not be able to clean that up. But opponent's going to swing 7K into Brook. I'm just going to let it go at this point because I want to protect Jack at this point. Jack is way more important to me than Brook. Jack can easily KO anything a lot easier than Brook can. And with the Tashigi in hand, I can just be able to do the Jack effect, right? So I can Tashigi -4 and then use leader effect and then Jack to kill the Monkey D Dragon. So I can definitely do it with just what I've got in hand. So that Ice Age not mattering, but I do, funny enough, pick up another Ice Age. We're just gonna use the Ice Age here. It's gonna make our life a whole lot easier. We're gonna draw one, trash one, pick up a Sengoku. I think that Sengoku's been going back to the yard here, and we're gonna KO the dragon. Notably, I used a 2K last turn. I think the Kureha was going at my Hina, and I wanted to protect it so I could just have another thing to swing into. Because once you get to the late game, and Zoro's just going to keep playing threats, right? But you want to get to a point where you just have such large threats, and their hand size is so low that you can just start swinging pretty easily into your opponent. Now we're going to go ahead and activate. Yeah, we're going to make sure we do it in order. We're going to go ahead and activate Smoker's effect to go ahead and get that +1K for turn. And then we're going to swing Hina at it. And then now we don't have a lot to do this turn. We've got, a 2K in hand and a Tashigi. No reason to play out the Tashigi right now, just because there's nothing I can do with it. And we're just going to swing heavy. We're going to swing 2 really big swings into my opponent here. Kind of unnecessarily big at this point, but I have nothing better to do with my Dawn. We're feeling pretty healthy right now. Zoro's at 2. I am at 4 life here. Got 2 cards in hand. One's a Tashigi. Tashigi's going to help me clean up anything my opponent plays on the next turn, which is going to be pretty great. And then that 2K is a potential way to protect Jack. If my opponent decides to go everything on Zoro and swing at Jack, I obviously have to let that go. But I'm honestly happy he did that because that's an entire turn. So he's going to go ahead and swing 10K into Jack. Actually, no, that was 6 Dawn, so he's going to swing 11K into Jack. And then he's going to play out Zoro out. Zoro's going to go ahead and swing 6K into my Hina. We're going to use that 2K in hand to protect the Hina here. And opponent's got 1 Dawn up. So 1 Dawn up pretty much means likely a Shut Up and Come With Me or a Radical Beam. I think those are the 2 1-cost events. Shut Up and Come With Me being the one that grabs an animal off the top 5, being one of the premier choices for the deck. And we've got a pretty straightforward plan this game. I think we're just going to try to bait the Shut Up and Come With Me, and then use the Tashigi to clean up whatever he plays. I think it's the general idea here, just kind of deciding how much Dawn I need. I need at least 5 Dawn left here, so I can kind of use the rest of the Dawn to play with. And I think what we might do is potentially we could swing like 7-7 or 7-8, and then swing the Moria into the Zoro here. But let's see what we go. We're gonna go ahead and start. We're gonna poke with a 7 here, see what my opponent does. He goes ahead and fires off the Shut Up and Come With Me, which is pretty nice for me. Now I could just kind of interrupt it with the Tashigi if my opponent does play something like a blocker, right? But instead plays out the Tony Chopper. Notably, that Chopper cannot look the top 5 on play if it's not your turn, right? It's only locked to your turn, so he's not going to be searching here. But my opponent does the effect and then uses a 2K 1K to get out of the 7K swing. And so now I've still got a bit of Dawn here. We're gonna go ahead and 9 into Zoro here. Opponent has 1 card, I think 1 or 2 cards in hand. I think it's just 2 cards in hand. 9 into Zoro is gonna pretty easily clean that up. And then we're just gonna play out Tashigi here. Tashigi's gonna clean up the Chopper. We're gonna make sure we do it in the proper order so I can get that +1000 on lead and go ahead and swing 9K into leader here. And opponent's just gonna take that. Looking potentially could have been a trigger there, but gonna go back to hand. Maybe that means it's a Radical Beam. Something you have to always think about when playing this game is it's kind of your opponent's reactions to their life, right? If your opponent takes a life, stares at it for a second, and then puts it in their hand, it gets you thinking. Likely it was a trigger, right? So knowing this deck, I think Radical Beam is like one of the only triggers in the deck. So definitely likely a Radical Beam in hand, especially if my opponent decides to leave 1 Dawn up here at the end of this turn. Opponent's going ahead and kind of taking his Dawn and kind of separating it here into a pile of 5 and a pile of 5. Almost look like a pile of 6. Looks like we're gonna go and get into 10K into Gecko. If that was a 2K in my hand, I probably would have snapped it off, but I did not have a 2K. Opponent's gonna play out a Kitten Killer, one of the saddest Kitten Killers you can ever see. A Kitten Killer that only swings for 5K, or sorry, 6K here. And I almost make the mistake, and I'm like, oh, 5K swing, we'll counter it. Oh, never mind, that is a 6K. So we have to let that go, unfortunately. If it was a 2K in my hand, I would have saved the Gecko anyways. Hina's out of here, but isn't that the saddest Kitten Killer? Kitten Killer doesn't get the bonus attack. It's just got the attack from the leader. We're going to use Brando, grab a Tashigi here, and I think we're in a pretty good position. Probably not to go for game here, but to try to continue to clean up my board. So I might commit 1 swing to lead and then 1 swing to my opponent's board here. My opponent did leave up 1 Dawn. I likely called it here. It's likely a Radical Beam. So we're going to go ahead and just Radical Beam check. We're going to swing 9K at lead, and we do see the Radical Beam taking him up to 9, and then a 1K counter up to 10. That pretty much saves him for the turn. He's only got 1 card in hand, so now we can go ahead and just use a 7 into 5 here to clean that up. And then I think we're just going to play a Brook out for funsies here just to have an extra body on board. And now we're pretty well positioned for a potential lethal play at this point. I'm at 4 life, 1 card in hand, 2 active characters and a leader. My opponent only has 2 cards in hand here, and things not looking very good here. If he decides to swing into my Tashigi, which likely he's going to do, I'm just going to let it go. But then I still have 2 more attackers on board here. He's going to go ahead and swing 8k into Tashigi. I'm going to take that because, again, don't have enough counter in hand. Opponent's going to play out a blocker here, which actually is a little annoying, but I do have that Tashigi in hand, and notably, that Tashigi has more than one effect. That Tashigi can also be put into play and then activated to -2 Dawn, but it didn't matter. We found the Kobe anyways, but I think we're just going to do Tashigi just to do the value play. How often do you see the 3-cost Tashigi actually get put into play? It's typically just a 2k counter, but we're going to use it here. Gonna -2 Dawn, -2 on the blocker. We're going to go ahead and swing 7. We're going to -1 KO the blocker and swing 7k. Opponent's just going to take it, and now we're going to go 5k, and then we're going to do a 7k here. And that's going to clean up the game. Opponent only with 1 card. It was another Dragon, and Smoker able to keep things under control here. Often, you know, could go sideways. It's a closer game than you think sometimes, but I was able to maintain board control. And my Zoro opponent, unfortunately, bottom decked a lot of good cards in the beginning of the game. Anyways, if you like this type of gameplay, like this type of overview or commentary, definitely subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.